What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Jay Rene with Prison Riot Radio. I hope that you're doing well. This morning, we got a brother that I feel needs no introduction. But, of course, we're going to introduce him properly to the platform. We got Brother Rashid, all right? I want to jump right into it because I'm ready. Good morning, bro. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So let's get right into it, bro. Like I said, I feel like you need no introduction, but we're gonna do you one properly. I've been following you for a while. I'm a fan of everything that you do, and it's definitely a privilege and an honor to be able to speak with you today and introduce you, formally to Prison Riot Radio's platform. So thank you.
All
All
right.
So let's jump right into it, bro. Let the people know a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
All right. I'm Kevin Rashid Johnson. Presently, my political position is Minister to the Revolutionary and the Communal Black Panther Party. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, presently confined in Virginia Nottoway Correctional Center. I guess some folks who follow me probably aware for the past decade I've been bounced state to state in response to a lot of the political work that I've been involved in, dealing with prison conditions, exposing the abusive conditions in prison that I've been incarcerated in, as well as journalism about prison conditions and abuse across the country. I was recently returned to Virginia as a result of basically Virginia officials having, I guess, run out of options because the state that they sent me to return kicked me out in response to the work that I continue to do everywhere that I went, in both challenging, resisting, and exposing abusive conditions in various states that they sent me. So here I am now, back in Virginia, and open to discuss anything that you're interested in.
All right, bro. So, I know that you probably know that you are considered a political prisoner and a revolutionary. How do you feel about those titles? Do you hear them? Do you call yourself these things, or do you accept being called them? Like, how do you interpret that?
Well, I think all prisoners confined in America are political prisoners, but there's very clearly a political agenda behind mass imprisonment in America and the demographics who are targeted with that. I definitely recognize and accept myself to be a revolutionary because I stand fully opposed to the status quo, this capitalist imperialist system, the racism, the white supremacy that underlies the system. And I stand firmly in opposition to and aligned to overthrow this system. So I guess I embrace both labels or characterizations fully. Yes.
Okay. When it comes to labels, I'm very particular about them, That's one of the reasons why we started this platform, is because those that are incarcerated are usually labeled in very derogatory ways that are unfair and are a part of making it so all the things I feel like that happen behind the walls can happen, because it's a dehumanization that happens, from the public to those that really know what's going on. With all the things that are set up against those that are incarcerated, how have you kept your voice strong and stayed motivated through, the hardships that come with that?
I'm motivated by the experience that I've had, as well as what I witness every day, the abuses, people's lives who are shattered, people who have been separated from their families, their loved ones, their children, brutality and abuse that exists every day, every second, and the need to call attention to that and the struggle to end that. So it's really not something internal to me that motivates me. It's conditions that I recognize that are anti-human, anti-community, anti-social, that we have to come together to change. lest we just allow this condition to exist and for our loved ones, our future generations to inherit.
I can feel that. So let me ask you, what do you think as a people that we need to be doing more collectively to assist to destroy that evil infrastructure?
Foremost, we need to be brought together under, I think, a common political agenda. There needs to be a lot more work and consciousness raising, something that you addressed as far as how we are portrayed and how we are perceived by the public, our people in general. A lot of that goes to the sense of alienation of the community against people who are incarcerated. We allow our enemies to define us. When you allow your enemy to define you, they can control you. So part of the mission that you just expressed of Prison Riot Radio is extremely important. That is humanizing us, allowing the community to recognize that we are part of the community and that we need to be identified and to see each other, to recognize each other, and to interact with each other as community so that we're able to identify and understand that we are a whole and cohesive people and that our fate is tied to the fate of those on the outside and vice versa.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the reasons why, I think journalism is so important, especially in our, black journalists, is to, put our narrative out there and our truths and things like that, because it's been biased for so long. When it comes to media, you're a writer. I just found out that you're an artist, which is really cool. Like, you are an awesome artist. You're not just scribbling on some paper, you definitely are an artist. My question is, when it comes to black media spaces, what do you want to see more of when it comes to, talking about, like, the dream that you were saying about how we need to be more cohesive and things like that?
Media spaces, for one, need to be owned by those whose voices need to be heard or controlled by those who are allied with us, and not just in general that our voices be heard, but again with a specific political agenda and objective. So I think even the media that proclaims to represent black voices, there is still a class perspective that they represent that aren't linked to the grassroots, the most oppressed layers of our people. So you get a perspective that reflects capitalist interests or middle-class petty bourgeois interests that aren't the same as the interests of those of us who are at the bottom or the working class.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need more working-class black media, and we need more class-conscious black media so that the voices that are spread or heard and the messages that are sent and generated out amongst the people on the outside are ones that link us together from an oppressed standpoint and organizes us to collectively change and challenge those conditions.
I love that answer, bro. Very good answer. So I want to go back and tell like a little history that, got us to the point where we are now and who you are now. So my question is, when did you realize that you needed to be actively involved? Was it something that you always knew? Was it an event that sparked it? Like, what made you say, yeah, I need to be paying attention to what's going on?
I've always been a person who gets outraged at oppression, abuse, people in power who take advantage of people who have no power. And much of my imprisonment, which as of now has lasted 32 years, my early imprisonment I spent physically battling against the pigs in response to their abuses of both myself and those around me. And those were pretty extreme levels of resistance. I was, at one point, I was labeled the most dangerous, violent prisoner in Virginia. And that kind of leveled off when I became exposed to political revolutionary theories and ideas beginning in 2001. And that was as a result of my exposure to political prisoners that had been brought to Virginia, one of which in particular who was interstate transferred. Well, I won't say interstate because he came from Virgin Islands, named Hanif Shabazz Bey. He first exposed me to George Jackson's Blood in My Eye. And from there, I just kind of took off because I fully identified with the things that George was talking about, the conditions that he stood in opposition to. And not long after, I was able to read Soledad Brother. And I really saw myself in his eyes. I was like, a lot of the same things that I had gone through, he went through. A lot of the same revelations that came to him kind of organically as a result of just living in an oppressed condition and being a critical thinker as opposed to somebody that just accepted things as they were or just went with the flow. I came to a lot of the same realization that he came to spontaneously. I was inherently rebellious. I didn't accept the legitimacy of the establishment. I didn't accept the legitimacy of these claiming they had authority. While at the same time they had a common tendency to repeat this cliche that, I'm no different from you, I just never got caught. And that resonated with me in a very real way that caused me not to see any legitimacy in their authority. Because if that was how they really perceived things, and they were telling me, they had no more respect for the law than they claimed that I did. But they would penalize me, they would stop me from being with my family, they would isolate me from society just simply because they had never got caught, but I had. And my position was they had no moral authority to punish me for breaking laws that they had no respect for themselves. So I, just before even I became exposed to political ideas and revolutionary theory and history, I was already in full revolt against them and the establishment, and I never really saw it as legitimate.
Right. So it was like it was destined to happen because it was already in you. You know what I mean? That's awesome, bro. So I know the fact that you was exposed to that definitely goes to show the importance of it. And I know over the years you've exposed many and brought many into it. How is that? Like, do you feel responsible to do so? And, do you encourage others to do the same?
Very much so. As D.I. Lenin said, without revolutionary theory, there can be no revolutionary movement. So that's 100% right, that if we're not exposed to and taught the politics, the ideology incorrectly, then, at best we'll be, reactionary.
Mm-hmm.
Even those of us who understand or identify that there is something grossly unjust about the establishment and the status quo, the best that we'll come to on our own is just rebelling against it, which was the stage that I was in before I became politically conscious. And yes, it is definitely the responsibility of those of us who come into political understanding to impart, what we have learned and what we understand to the masses in general, because that's the only way that the collective masses will be able to come together to change this condition, is that they understand that they're oppressed, the nature of that oppression, who their true enemies are, and that they not be disinclined to, impulse or spontaneous rebellion, that it has to be a systematic, tactical, as well as strategic struggle to overthrow these conditions and to end them permanently.
Yeah, that's for sure, bro. You said that. Well, I know we don't have too much more time, so I just got two more things. So the first one is, what does the future hold?
Hopefully liberation. But as it stands, I think the future is bright, but only if we dare to make it bright. And in order to do that, again, we have to be brought together to understand what it is we're up against, who truly is the enemy, and we have to have the correct leadership to guide us. And inform us of these things and to organize, agitate, and educate the masses to take that struggle to the next level.
Most definitely. All right, so I want to ask you, just to wrap us up, drop some gems, a message, if you want a message or anything like that that you want to give to the people.
Well, I'd like to say that we are at, I think,
you have 1 minute remaining.
A turning point in history. I think there's a lot of social ferment that lies just below the surface, and the establishment is trying to instigate reaction, of various extremes to try to suppress that, to divide the masses, to play one poor and oppressed sector against another poor and oppressed sector. And this has been the basic go-to tactic of the establishment in repressing resistance and mass awakening and organizing, independent organizing, to challenge the system and to overthrow it. And the masses need to be made conscious that, the racial polarization, the gender issues, the issues as pertain to oppressing people because of various conditions, whether we're talking about...
Thank you for using GTL.